toggle on the visibility in the viewport. But because this object is a null, let me bring another object into the null. So I can make this extrude to add to layer like so, right? So if I kill the visibility, I'm only saying I don't want every object in this layer to be visible in my viewport. If I kill the render, it only means that I don't want every object on this layer to show in the render. So if I press Ctrl R, my locator will not show. But if I release it, right, and press Ctrl R, it will show in my renderer. But notice that it's not visible in my viewport, right? So these two are different. Then we have manager to show in manager. I don't want it to show here, right? In the object manager, I can kill it right here. If I want to lock the object so I won't be able to interact with it or mess with it, I can do that right here. If I want the animation to be knocked off, I don't want the animation on the object to be active, I can do that right here. If I want generators, the generator is like your generators are, I explained last week that your generators are your subdivision surface, your closed surface. They call them generators because they generate extra polygons. They generate extra surfaces, right? When they are attached to an object, they generate extra geometry per se. So if because I have extrude right on this locator spline, it generated this guy right here. So if I kill this guy, you see that there's nothing there. So this, right, is the spline and this is the generator because it's generating an entirely different geometry on the shape, right, on the spline. So that is why we have them as generators. So if I kill the generator, right, we will not have it will no longer have effect on the spline because it's on the layer, right? And we also have deformer. So if I have a deformer, these are deformers, right? It's also the same thing that will happen if you have a deformer attached to an object. Probably you want the object to jiggle, or you want it to smooth, or you want to bulge it, or you want to bend it. I think I'll touch on deformers today. And then we also have expressions. So if you have a Python code, right? If you have a Python code, you can also activate and deactivate it here such that the Python code will not have effect or would rather have effect on your object on this layer. And then we have X reference or expresso. So the same thing to activate your X reference or to deactivate your X reference. And if you want to get the meaning of this, if you forget, it's solo visible in render, solo visibility render, manager, layer, and lock, animation, generator, deformer, expressions, and X reference. But if you forget all these, what all these mean, you can also come to view and check everything. So you can see solo view, render, manager, locking, animation, generators, deformer, expressions, and X reference. The meanings of all these are here. So if I select this layer and I decide to say, you know what, I don't want you to show in render, right? In fact, okay, I just killed render out. So I can decide to kill everything, right? Fold all, right? Kill everything, right? And then we can just have the ones I want to show in here, since it won't be what I will use every time. So layers are very, very important for, so it's not as layers don't work like the way they work in cinema in Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or any other vector or raster based software. Here layers work differently. So it doesn't mean that because something is in front of something you won't see it. You can also go around the object to see what is hidden behind, right? So that's how layers work. And I also explained these little traffic light buttons here and what these guys do. So these guys just only mean to add to layer or to manage your layer or whatever, right? And then these two traffic lights, the first one talks about visibility in your viewports. So if it's on green, that means always visible no matter what you do. If it's on red, that means invisible, like kill the visibility. Same thing, the other one, but this one addresses the renderer. So if I kill this, although it's visible in my viewport, right? But if I render, you won't see it in my renderer. Why? Because I already told it not to be visible in render. So sometimes you may have a very, very bogus scenery, and you may just want to single-handedly render something to show that, okay, this thing is what I want to only render, right? You can make that a possibility by uh, by just turning on and turning off these traffic lights right there. So let me turn back my traffic. Let me turn my traffic light back on. I think I should. Okay. So far so good. Hope we all understand the recap and hope we all understand what I've been talking about when it comes to tags and layers. So moving on, I'll be talking about deformers briefly in this class. And deformers, what are deformers as the name implies? But before I even go to deformers, I think I should touch on, there are a lot of things to touch on. Okay, I should touch on generators, right? Generators. So let's have a new file. And yeah, so in generators, what are generators? Generators are objects, right? They're objects that generate new geometry. The objects that generate new geometry in your 3D file, your 3D scene. And what do I mean by generate new geometry? They they help to smoothen your objects. When they generate new geometry, they smoothen your objects. They give life to your objects, right? And they make your objects what's it called now? They make your objects have form, right? They give them solidity, right? So, for example, if I have so the first one is subdivision surface. In the old version of Cinema 4D, they used to call it hypernerves, right? Hypernerve. So let me have that. They say hyper, right? Nerve, NURB, right? Hypernerves. And the meaning of nerves means non-uniform, uniform, but rational, B splines. That's the meaning of nerve. Non-uniform but rational B-spline, right? That's what they used to call your subdivision surface, and then they changed the subdivision surface. So what this guy does is he just helps smoothing your object by subdividing it. Let me try to dock this out. I want to explain everything one by one. Okay, so docking it out, I think that's fine. All right, so that's what this guy does. It subdivides your object, right, and smoothens your object just the way it should. For example, if I have, I think I have a model file. Okay, let me just open my Ginger model. Let me open my Ginger model. Okay, so here's my Ginger model. I was, and then let me bring out the. Hold on. I can't even seem to find my phone holder. It's not here. Give me some few minutes, please. All right. Okay, good. So let me just copy this guy out. So let's bring it back to this new file. So in the new file, we would have this guy. Close the door, please. All right. So in the new file, we would have. Let me remesh this so that you would understand what this guy does. Anyway. Okay. Reduce. Remesh Q. Polygon count. Let me reduce it to about 500 or 500. Yeah. So you see that's about 500. 500. Okay. So we have that, right? So imagine this is your imagine this is your. Let me put this to the layer and the layer. Let me just kill this. So these Y layers are super important. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Let me. All right. Thank you. Okay. So sorry about that, guys. So okay, let's have a new layer and let me just add to a new layer. Great. So let me kill this in manager. Yeah. So yeah, what we're trying to say, we're trying to use the subdivision surface. What this guy does is it smoothens your model, right? It smoothens your model, right? Very true. So if I have this and I click and drag it on there as a child of the subdivision surface. So we have it smoothened. So once I render, right, you have more more okay, sorry. So this cube mesh, subdivision, attribute, okay, subdivision in renderer. Just make that a point that that is strange. Oh, okay. I know where the issue is. So the issue is in my render. So it's active in the render. That's why I'm seeing what I'm not supposed to see. So let's go back and render. So yeah, that's what my subdivision surface does. It smoothens my model, right, and makes it smooth, right, by adding more subdivisions and adding more geometry to it, right. The next is my extrude. From this guy, I'm not going to like try to develop new object from everything. So from this guy, we have a locator that is I have a locator that is a okay, let me copy this. I have a locator that is a spline, right? And this is my spline locator right here, right? So let me reduce scale and bring it down like so. All right. So since we have that locator, all I just need to do is to pick my extrude. And a shortcut to doing that is holding Alt, right? And with your object selected, holding Alt and clicking, and then you're going to have it automatically become the child of it. So I can come to my extrude and reduce the depth of it, right? So it has added a new geometry to that. That's extrude. Then we have cloth surface. So if you have, for example, so that we will not have issues, that will not have issues. So let me have a cloth object, for example, a plane. So if I pick my plane, where's my plane? Right here, right? And then have this plane reduce the sizing, and then probably increase. Okay, so without increasing the number of grids it has, right? So if I attach to it a cloth surface like so, you see that it has added, check it, you see that it added more geometry to it. Why? Because it's a generator. So it's adding a cloth um, um, attribute to it. And then we can have the subdivision, maybe I can increase it to like 3, and then I can also increase the thickness. So watch something, watch your plane. So we can use this to also generate clothing in cinema 4D. So watch this side of the plane. So if I increase the thickness, so my plane is getting thicker. See? So it's like a cloth. So if I decide to say, okay, so how do I simulate this cloth? Let me give this guy. So now look at something. I'm going to my tags to simulate the cloth. So if I come here to say simulation tags, cloth collider, right? And then I'm giving this guy simulation tags. I'm giving it cloth, right? I'm giving it cloth. So if I decide to come to my dresser and relax my cloth, right? And before I relax it, oh, okay. Before I relax it, I need to make this an editable object first. So make editable. So yeah, very editable. And then I can come to my in fact, I should make this so editable and do this. Then dresser relax. So that's what happens when I relax my clock simulation. So let me make steps. Let me make the steps about 90, right? And then let's relax. Okay. So let me go back. Um, Okay, so let me have another plane so that it won't fall down to the earth. Just plane right here. Okay, make this editable, right? And then giving it a cloth collider by copying and pasting. That's what I did. So once we have this, so yeah, that's my cloth right there, right? So that's the generator. I've been able to generate clothing for my Simafodi. And the clothing in Simafodi now is better because we have they've improved on that. So the next is the loft knob. What the loft knob does is it helps you create a. So looking at the icon of the loft knob, it looks like a vase, for example. So if I come back to probably my front, so I want to create a bottle of Coke, for example. All I just need to do is to come to this line. I think I'm going to draw. No, not in this line. Sorry. Where is my? I want to draw my spline. There is a one another. Here. I'm looking for my pen tool. Okay, right here. So, so, so just imagine this is my right. Or let me just. All right. So all I can do is I can just come and add my loft, my spline. Okay, I didn't close it. I'm supposed to close it. Close it, and then. Excuse me, please. Let me sketch it out. All right. So I have my loft log. I think this should work now. Under white, it's not working. Loft log should work. It's supposed to work. Maybe because it's here closed. Now, we'll go back to this page. So usually that's where the sheet is. This. I think this is it. That is strange. That is very strange. Very strange. No, that's very strange though. Supposed to wrap my objects. Okay, so if that's not working, let me have a basic circle and drop my loft into it. That's it. So um so what the loft does is it adds geometry to my. It's supposed to add it to my to my drawn shape. I don't know why I didn't do that. Okay, so I can start copying out right shapes. So what I did was you're going to drop like a spline, which this is supposed to work. I don't know why it's not working. You're going to drop a spline, like a closed spline into your loft, and then all you just need to do is copy and paste this guy so that you have new geometry. So I want to have a cylinder, right, that has different shapes. So I can do this. So holding my control, clicking and drag. So clicking and dragging, one, right? Then 2, 3, 4. Then I can come to the one at the middle and reduce the size, right? I can come to the second one, increase the size, So imagine I'm trying to make an African drum, like a drum. So this you can start this way, right? And then probably I come to this one. In fact, I can decide to say, you know what? I want to add a rectangle to it and put the rectangle in between them, right? And then my rectangle can be like so. So my rectangle is at the middle, right? But because the size is too much, so let me just reduce it, right? So it's giving me that twist. I can have this one here, then this rectangle, I can, twist it to have something of this nature, right? So like I have a twisted object. It can be like a stool stand. This way. Okay, and then let's have another random object in there, probably this guy, the inside, and rotation back this way, bring it into the middle, right? And then we position him, so it's going to be like, reduce the size. If I reduce the size, so I think it's in the right place. Okay, let it top view, go to the middle, center, and then yeah. So I can decide to make this bigger or smaller. In fact, I can decide to say how many sides does this have? End side, I can say have as much size as possible, or one side or two sides. Increase the radius, right? And then the rotation. So but I don't think it's making it beautiful. So I can file, edit, and delete it. So yeah, that's what a love knob does. So it helps you build new shapes out of splines by adding splines to splines and adding another to another and adding another to another. That's that guy. And then we also have your sweep knob. Your sweep knob sweeps between two objects. For example, it's very similar to the loft, but it is not the same thing. So if I want to sweep from, okay, so let me bring in this guy again. So maybe I want to sweep from this locator, right? From this locator to another object that is where's my locator? So from this locator, I want to sweep to probably a circle, right? And then I have this guy right here, and then I bring these two under my sweep. So if I have these two, I drag under my sweep nodes, and it gives me, so it sweeps, see that this shape is different from this shape. So it sweeps this with this guy, and the arrangement is very, very important. So if I bring this before this guy, I'm going to have a different shape. I'm going to have something entirely different, right? So if I bring this like this, something entirely different. So I can decide to make the circumference of this reduce. So we can have something like so. So see what it did? It swept the circle entirely on the entire on the entire shape. And if I have this like this, I'm going to have to probably reduce the second one, which is this guy, like this one. I mean, reduce this, probably increase this. So you can have as much shape as possible, like using your generators, but just know that they help you generate geometry. The more you practice with them, the more you understand them better. And then we have this loft knob. I still even feel like going back to it. I use my loft knob most times to even create things like flower bases, flower vase, bottle of Coke, and oh, my phone battery is low. So flower vase, bottle of Coke, or whatever it is that you want to generate with. Then we also have this spline mask, right? It helps you to mask out if two splines are intersecting. Maybe this, right? And probably this. So these two, right? I can decide to make them interact like so, and then have your spline mask 1, 2, right? And then it helps just like the way you have it in your vector form and vector images. And these things can be used to make animation. So imagine I have this, right? And then I sweep, for example, pick this, right? Like so, right? Look at something, guys. So, and then I can start to animate stuff. So, this is my spline mask. Here. Let me undo that. Uh, and wrap it around better way. So if I have these two, I can now come to my attribute and say maybe I want it to be A subtract B, right? Or B subtract A or whatever. So and in doing that, you can have your animations like that, such that let me increase this guy. The width, right? So we can have things like this. So imagine the endless possibilities you can have with your spline. So imagine this has a geometry around it, like probably a geometry of. So look at this. If I click on, let me quickly make a deformer. Uh, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Spline wrap. This guy right here. So I can decide to say, then add. Don't worry, I'm going to explain this one later. But let me just show you what your spline can do. So I'll make this chart of this and tell it to wrap around this guy. No, circle. I prefer to wrap around the circle. Chart of this and here, and then change the capsule. Sorry, it may look like magic to you, but don't mind me. Just try to. Scale it. So let me increase the radius. All right. So and this one should have a circle. All right. So we can work with. What is my? It's not giving me the effect I want. Not to waste a lot of time, not to waste any time at all. So let me just continue. So yeah, your spline mask just helps you mask spline. So if I want a new spline from something, if I want a new object from intersection of two splines or even three splines, right? I can have that, right? I can have that. So that's it. The next is connect. Connect helps you to connect two objects together. For example, if I want to connect is probably this guy and maybe this guy, and I drag this guy up here. What connect does, it just helps us connect two objects together such that they are seen as one. So if I click, drag the two on there, right, I can see them as an entirety, a single object, like so. Right, that's what connect does. And also connect helps to make your animations easier and faster, right? Connect really helps a lot. Then we also have symmetry, just like the name implies. What you are doing on the right, you are doing on the left. For example, so I can say, adding my symmetry, I can have cube. So look at my cube here. It's the same thing as a cube here. So if I click this cube and drag it up, right? Anything happening to the one on the right is happening to the one on the left. That's what your symmetry does, right? So and symmetry is mostly used when you are modeling things like human face, human body, cars, things that are bilaterally symmetrical, or yes, bilaterally symmetrical, probably a speaker or probably a whatever, things that when you divide into two, your left is equal to your right, right? That is what we use symmetry for. And then we also have instance. Instance also instance helps more when you are doing a lot of motion graphics and you are trying to fit a lot of objects in this same scene. For example, I can create a cube, right? And once I work with that cube I create, it will affect every other instance, every other cube in the instance. For example, if I click on my instance, let me close that and do this. Instance, for example, and I'll do this. So how many instances do I want? So I can instance of my object here. Then this. So I can set to render my instance, right? And so what I'm doing to one object, right, would replicate itself on the other objects. Probably I can have, so instead of me saying, maybe I'm supposed to have 10,000 of a box, right? And I want the boxes, all the 10,000 boxes to rotate this way. All I just need to do is to create one box and instance the box such that once I rotate that one box I create, right, every other box in that series would rotate. And you can also have that kind of effect when you talk about motion graphics. That's more graph right here. When you talk about your cloner, it's almost the same thing that happens. The cloner is really, really good with that, right? Cloner is really good with that. Then we also have, I think I'm having a lot of things created here, and you have to delete it. Okay. All right. Next is array. So as the name implies, array is super interesting. In fact, your cloner is a measure of array and instance and whatever, right? So if we have array, if I have an object, probably my circle, right? And then I drop it under array, like so. So what do I want the object to do? Let me I can say increase the radius. So let me increase the radius of my array, right? I can have objects in a simple circular array. I can increase the number of copies, right? And remember, you can always animate things like this. Things like this can be animated. So the only limit is your mind. The only limit you have is your mind. So if you say, I want this thing to be rotating and then objects to be popping by the side, you can remember, animate number of copies. You do 9 copies. When you get here, 45, you do about 6 copies. Then here, reduce back to like 7 copies. So when you play your animation, you have things like this. So endless possibilities. And remember what I told you about animations, how you can make it so seamless by going to your F code and all that. So that's that about array. You can also add extra objects to your array. For example, I can decide to add a code to my array, right? And then just let me use this. This is too much. Right? And then notice something. Now it has put my what's the name? There at the middle. And okay, then where's my phone? So this will exchange it. Then we can also have so I'm putting my phone as a child of the sphere such that everything works. So I can also come back in here, right? That's my phone, and probably work on the maybe here. I want to work on the top radius. To be 0, and it gets here. Top radius should increase, right? And then maybe bottom radius should increase, like so, right? When it gets here, this one should reduce back to its normal size. Get to this part, we should reduce, right? And the height will increase, that will reduce, right? So we can have that. Now when we get this part, let's Let me just increase. Yeah, to do this, we have to reduce. So when we play our animation, we have something like this. So imagine you have a lot of these objects, right, as animated objects. So all those, for example, car engines, revving, all those things, these are the things they use array. And then I can also decide to say, you know what, I want to work with the rotation of my objects. So I want it when it's here to be 0, 0, 0. When it gets here, it should have gone this way, right? Still keyframing. And then when I get here, I want this to go this way, this way. This. Then when it gets here, to rotate back like so, face out, and I want this rotation to be like so. Yeah, exactly. So, imagine you now have, what's it called? I think I need to save it. So imagine you now have what's it on this thing, materials, and then imagine your camera going in and out, with different objects. So this is where your motion graphic starts from. Simply, right? Just by animating parameters in your array objects. And then I can decide to say, you know what? This looks a bit boring. I can have my sphere, this guy, right? The size here is 0, 0, 0. It gets here. It gets here. I want it to increase. So, right? Then when it gets here, I'm going to go back to 1, 1, 1. Right? And then my array, when it gets here, I want my array here to have amplitude, right? The amplitude should move like so. So the amplitude is just talks about the and then this, and then probably I'm just randomly using stuff like this, like so. This so. I decided to say, you know what? So that's what makes motion graphics animation be complex to you, because you're like, how did they do all these things? If you can just break things down one by one, right? You'll be able to achieve anything you want to achieve, right? Able to achieve anything you want to achieve. So the next is let me go to the next one, which is atom array. Atom array, as the name implies, it makes you have an atomic arrangement of objects, right? Atomic arrangement of objects. My phone is really good. Okay, for example, so I can, I didn't come to late now. Oh, okay, okay. Before I go to atom array, I think the late knob was what I was trying to use to create. That's what I used to create bottles. Sorry, not the left knob. So if I have this, let me go back to the late knob. We do this, right? Half of it, and then I just pick my late knob and put it inside. So I have something like a bottle per se, right? So let me reduce the like so, increase the standing, so, right? And then you can decide to say, you know what, I don't like how that button is standing. Go back to my spline, right? And edit my spline. I can have this, right? Stand as a button, and then this guy as a class, and then bring them out of this guy together, put this one in the middle. So, okay, so when I show my render, this is what I get. late mode. So imagine you are creating like there are endless possibilities when it comes to cinema body, endless possibilities. So that's late mode. Then we also have atom array. Atom array, as name implies, we have let me keep my atom array, and then I have this guy, I want this guy, and probably capsule. I'm a capsule, right? So I can pick both of them and drop them inside an atom array, right? So both of them. So if you look well, let me zoom in. So what the atom array does, for example, let me first place this capsule, is that it turns the object into an atom, like a cage, right? It's a very, very short form of creating cages. So if I have this, I can now decide to say, what's the sphere radius, right? Or the cylinder radius, right? Then I can also have my subdivisions. How many subdivisions will I have when it comes to that? And then I can break down my atom array. Imagine bringing my atom array, right, into my array, child of this. So I can decide to start animating this. So when I play my animations, you are going to see my atom array in action. So when I play, a lot of things will be going on right there. That's my atom array. Let me zoom in. You see my atom array. So imagine we have a lot of objects. We're playing that this kind of game on your screen. And then we also have the remesh. Remesh, I think I was showing you guys here. Let me just show you guys remesh here. I don't want to reopen the image because time is short. So remesh helps you to turn down the the mesh count of your objects, right, of your polygons. For example, my phone is really low, 6%. So if you have remesh, you can decide to remesh your object to reduce the density of your object. Remember, we're talking about generators, right? So this helps to regenerate the number of polygons your objects have. That's what remesh does, right? So most of your generators, you should be able to know that the first thing you should do is click and drag your object as a child. This is a very, very important tip. Click and drag your object as the child of the deformer. I'm sorry, of your generator. But for deformers, most times you make your deformer the child of the object. These are deformers right here. All these guys, most times they are children of your object. But for these guys, they are parents of your object. Please note this. It is very, very important to know. And then we also have which other one? Polygon reduction. So you want to do low poly art, for example. Low poly art. So where's that guy? Where is he? Let me this. Okay, there you are. So let's zoom in and yeah. So this guy, I want him to be in low poly, right? So I've given him subdivision surface. I can decide to say, you know what, polygon reduction tool, right? And then click and drag this on there. And then we have reduced polygons. Let me do it like this. So most times, low poly art is always, they're always triangles. Remember when I was stating this class, I said for right optimization, your polygons should be four-sided polygon. It should be four-sided. If it's three-sided, there's going to be a problem with algorithm. There's going to be problem when you're animating. There's going to be a lot of problems because it's easier for your computer to calculate numbers that are evenly divisible by 2. Remember, I said that at the beginning, right? And also, it helps your computer. So it doesn't make it easy for your computer to calculate things that are triangles. So yeah, so here is my reduction strength. I can decide to reduce it. So if you want to do low poly art, for example, let me show you what I mean by low poly art to work. Where is my Pinterest? Here we go. Sorry, I'm always on Pinterest looking for something. So let me use this other. Let me just use it. I'm using that for reference. Okay. So let me type in low poly arts. Low poly arts. So it can be your style, it can be what you want. So these are low poly 3D arts. So if you see this, you see that everything is triangle. You can have your objects this way. right? You can create this kind of art. You can also create, so yeah, this is another example of low poly. So if your computer is not really strong, it's a cheat. It's a cheat for you, right? You can create objects like this to achieve low poly art, right? Then we also have metaball. Metaball helps you to simulate like a water kind of effect. So it's always between two objects. So if I have this metaball, I can say between this guy and probably, so you see what's happening, that guy and maybe, so so if I pick this sphere, please, some things may not be able to be achievable by you if you don't have a super fast computer. Please don't try to be a superhero when it comes to things like this. Okay, so yeah, so metaball. Are you see what's happening? So let's simulate things like a liquid effect. So you see what's happening? So it brings objects together, right, and manipulates the mesh so that they look like liquid. So I can decide to remember that we have attribute managers, and these attribute managers can be used to. I'm checking, my phone is on 4%. So I can decide to copy this. So by the time you are talking, you can begin to manipulate this. See, you are working with water, you are working with, and then you can work with the all value, the all value, right? We talked about the all value, right? How much geometry adds, and then we have the subdivision. How about next subdivision specifically, right? So sorry. So the lower the subdivision, the higher computer engine needs. So you can have something like a liquid, just like a basic liquid simulation in Sigma 4D, right? That's what that guy does, right? So yeah, you can have something like this. Then the next is your relief. Relief talks about like your relief gives, for example, where's that my play? But don't be limited to what I say. You can also use your metabolic array. Imagine you have an array, and as they're talking to each other, they are metabolic, and they are coming out of each other. Like the possibilities are endless. So if I have my relief, my under my relief, my plane, so I can decide to now increase the width segment and height segment, add a texture. Once I add the texture, the texture deforms the surface based on the texture and property. Okay, maybe I'm going to use this. So let me remove this. Sorry, pardon me. So from a texture, right? I can get a geometry. I think that's what this is. Sorry, I miss fire. And from a texture, we generate a new so let me look on that setting, something different. Let me look for the NFT arts. Okay. So look at what is happening. Are you seeing that guy? Are you seeing him? So it's a relief, like it's a geometry. Okay.
have our texture and geometry. So you can use this also to create your normal maps or your boat map or whatever you want to create. So yeah, that's the effect of this guy right here, right? And you can, so imagine you have an animation that is showing names. For example, maybe I want to advertise that NFT, for example, and then my camera is moving this way, with sound effects and everything, with colors now. Imagine a color, and then I go out, zoom out, and use the NFT, right? And you can also do that by, for example, if I say, oh, it's really 2%. Let me charge the phone.
Sorry, guys. All right. My phone. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 minute, please. Phone is really low. All right. So it's charging now. Okay. So yeah. So I can decide to say, you know what? I would add probably yeah, him, right? And then can decide to say, you know what? I want you to be on my relief. So that's him right there, right? So he has a texture effect to him, right? And then we can, I think I should be able to make this relief even higher. Yeah, that's it. The bottom level. Yeah, like so. So so I have this. So once I render, I'll be able to have like, something that makes a lot of sense to me. So if I am actually animating things like this, right, it should be easy for me to, I mean, N D N C, yeah, right. So moving on to the next is moving on to the next, we have LOD. LOD means level of detail. So you can decide to right? You decide to reduce the level of detail of the object. So I can decide to reduce the LOD of the object, right? So mm, camera distance. So I can decide to reduce it by camera distance or by whatever. But I hardly use this, so I've not really dug into LODs. But LOD means level of detail. If you want to increase and reduce the level of detail of your geometry, remember that it's supposed to generate geometry for you. And then we have vectorizer. I've not used it too, but from the name, right, it helps to vectorize your 3D object. So I bring this right here, there, then one, and then um, where's this guy? Where is this? I think I should be doing the wrong thing. I think I'm doing the wrong thing. But yeah, I've not really explored vectorizer. So you can always right click, right, on anything you don't understand. Another quick tip, right click and show help. Once you show help, it takes you to the help file of the very tool you want to use. It is a very helpful tip. That's how I learned most of the things I learned in my Cinema 4D. Then we also have vector import. If you want to import a vector, like your like your what's it called, your stroke, right? You can also always so like my Illustrator file. Let me see. I think you should be able to do that. Locator. So import and see, you can even open it in Adobe Illustrator as it is. So it's if I open in AI, it will come back to my Adobe Illustrator, open it for me so that I can manipulate it. This is it here. My locator is here. So I can manipulate it here, and then to effect the change here, I will just have to reload it, and then I'm going to have it locator AI. Let me look for where it is here. Here, right? So this is it right here. That's my locator guy. Sorry, I'm still trying to bring it out. Yeah. All right. So I can start giving it height and depth. I start giving it curves and whatever it is that it needs to have, like the geometry, and start setting the spline, right? And then I can even have it under my what's it called? Under my extrude generator. Where is my picture in this? Okay, so that's been said. So here we go. That being said, we also have the next, which is trying to rush this class. Also have the next. Funny enough, I said we're going to talk about the formats today, but I think we're talking about generators. They will also have grow grass. To grow grass on a platform, a platform generator. This allows us to have code. If you understand Python, you can have code to generate geometry right here, right? That's what this guy does. So, okay, so that's it. Do we have any question before I briefly introduce us to the formats? Do we have any questions so far? Do we have any questions so far?
We don't. I don't have any question.
All right. Okay, so everybody understands, right? All right. So since everybody understands it, I like that. So I showed you something very, 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 very briefly. So the task for next week, in fact, the task is not even going to be based on the things that I really, really explained, but it's still part of it. So we are going to have a low poly. See this polygon reduction tool? That's what we're going to use. So have a low poly art, like, oh, sorry. A low poly art, like so, like this guy. Anyone, anything. It can be landscape, it can be an object, it can be whatever. Create a low poly art of a scenery of your choice, right? Submit. That's it. So if you guys really understand, what I just explained, so that's the task for next week. I'm very sure now people will now be asking me questions now. Do you understand everything I said? Hello? Hello? Yes, just scenes. So it can be a scenery. The scene can have human, can have anything, but you can, in fact, as simple as this, I need you to have behind your have it and you use it for your project or an animation project, right? A low poly of any scenery. Have your put your materials on it and render it out. Are we fine?
Holy.
All right. So I think I'm done here. Any questions before I leave, before I run away?
Why is it working now? Oh,
Set. I can't hear you. Did you what? Stefan.
sorry, sir. It was.
All right then. The deadline is Friday. Friday by 12 noon. Latest Friday, 12 noon. That's the deadline. So I think at this point, I would like to call it a very, very good day and move on. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a very blessed day. I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye.